Sabyasachi, my next question is that the first half of 2014, any one campaign which is, I think it's going to be very tough for you, any one campaign that has stood close to your heart, and why actually?
So it's not so difficult actually. Kotak Jiffy was the project that we worked for a year. It's on the back of some patents that we filed. We worked very closely with Twitter. Officially, it is the world's first banking through Twitter. The product itself did amazingly well. It created a great perception for Kotak in the banking space, and they're a challenger brand. We know that because subsequently we've spoken to the other large banks, and we know the kind of attention that Kotak Jiffy has generated, the kind of interest that it has generated. So that's good. The brand benefited from what they did. We see the kind of positivity and the excitement that the brand is seeing about the entire product. What's interesting is that here we conceptualized the product. We worked with the Kotak product team. We worked with many IT service providers. We also handle the marketing, we also handle the branding, we handle the social media part of it. So it was an extremely nice experience where you created a product, you created a brand, and then you marketed it completely. Interestingly, it's a brand which got marketed only on digital. So it's a digital only brand. There was no television commercials, there was no print or outdoor. So we're proud to have been able to take a concept to market end to end, which was extremely interesting and satisfying for us. And the product is doing great, so we look forward to even more innovations coming in that space.
When you started talking about products, and Jiffy is one of the products which I know you guys have done excellent work on that. My question here is that why this shift from an agency to focus on product, and what has the idea behind it, and how is it going ahead?
So actually, it's not a shift from agency to focus. The agency business runs as strongly as it ever did. Right. Products is a completely new business line. It's a separate company. We are incorporating it separately. There's a separate CEO who runs that business. Right. My belief over the last couple of years is that social became this Facebook updates, Facebook tab applications and contest kind of a phenomena where everybody were happy to do 4 updates a day, running Twitter contests, hashtag contests, and all of that. Somewhere along the way, we felt that this is not delivering value either to the consumer or to the brand. And for a consumer to stay connected with the brand on using social media, there has to be value delivery, which has to be core to the nature of the business. So, for example, if I can interact with my telecom service providers using a social media channel, there is a value that I deliver. If I can interact with my bank and do transactions using a social media channel, then I derive value. So the philosophy of go native, go mobile is something that has been driving us for the last year and a half, 2 years, which is to say, how do you create ecosystems which are built on social rather than just looking at the creative angle of social media itself. So Jiffy was in effect exactly that. You used social media native applications and channels to be able to transact with a business that you actually transact with. So when we started creating these applications, we had 2 choices. Either we could do bespoke work for specific clients against a brief, but then we realized that in most cases we are doing so much of conceptualization and solutioning and creation that it warranted them to be made into scalable solutions which could be given to multiple clients in the same space. So whether it's on the payment space or the loyalty space or the banking transaction space. We realized immediately there was interest across multiple clients and across multiple potential clients, which gave us the idea that what if we could productize it and then make it into a SaaS kind of a solution rather than be a one-time bespoke sale that we would typically do, which also augments your monthly revenue and also makes it a little more scalable in terms of how you grow the revenue stream.
Social has now become on the go, and you just said it right away when we were talking the last question. How has your agency been matching up the mobile space? What's the interesting work that you guys are doing at the mobile space?
Quite a bit actually. So our philosophy is on, like I just said, it's go native, go mobile. So when we say native, today we know that most of the usage is happening from mobile. Our attempt has been to use a native Facebook Messenger or a Twitter app or in some cases even a WhatsApp to be able to connect into enterprise systems. So that's one area of work that we're doing using native apps which are already there by enabling a pipe between native apps and the enterprise. The second area is in terms of mobile apps themselves. There are some fairly large projects that we have executed in the recent past, which are going to be rolled out. One for Pepsi, for example. There's a major loyalty and consumption application that has got created, which is probably one of the largest applications that Pepsi has rolled out, in this part of the world. So yes, I am not at liberty to exactly give the details right now, but it should be out in the market in August. And I think that's the kind of scale that we're looking at. It's not apps about games or small engagement, etc. It's really enterprise level apps with integrations with social channels, with backend systems, with partner systems, and all of that in a fairly very large scale.
It's interesting. And how has the perception of the customers improved from the time you started up and today? But still, it's not that great. But what's your thought on that? How is that?
So it depends from client to client, to be honest. When 5 years, 7 years back, digital was the last check mark in any marketing presentation. So it's about when everything else was done, you used to call the website agency to create a microsite. That's typically how people used to perceive a digital agency. In fact, in most cases, we were called website agency, not a digital agency. What happens now in certain cases, in certain brands, we lead the communication. So we are even doing planning, we are even doing communication. We are the first to get briefed.
Right.
We've seen that in iconic brands like Old Spice, where at times we are the only agency in the room. There are a lot of newer clients that we have acquired who are, for example, Goodyear, who are almost relying on digital to, drive the brand matrices. Now that's a huge change. When digital is suddenly being tasked with driving brand perception and brand advocacy, that's a huge change from 7 years, 8 years back when you were called a website agency. Having said that, there are some clients who are more evolved than others. There are in the FMCG space, for example, the evolution is a little less apparent, whereas in banking, in telecom, in durables, in retail, the importance of the digital partner has become extremely high.
Right. And you've been an evangelizer of this medium from really long time. You just shared that experience. What's something that you personally feel is still missing in this medium, and you hate to see that, and how do you want to improve that, or what should be improved? What's your thought?
See, two things. One is there's a severe lack of talent. So there are no courses. Even when we go to look at students from MICA, for example, the digital course is not really that informative. So scalability from an agency perspective and even from a client perspective is extremely limited and hindered because of the lack of talent. So if there was a choice and an opportunity, many of us who evangelize this medium would have loved to go and speak to students while they're still learning or in college, so that they get a perspective of what digital is. They come up with a perspective which is so narrow and so devoid of substance that it's very difficult to get them to believe in doing something meaningful on the platform. So that's at one count. And I think a lot of the growth problems that we have for the medium in India is a function of the lack of talent. The second is, for clients, digital often becomes the medium of choice if you're short on budget. We have often heard clients, we don't have much budget this year, so I want digital to lead communication. It almost feels like it's a poor man's choice. It's not. There's certain categories like a smartphone. If the guy is not on the internet, he's not going to buy your phone. So it should be the lead medium irrespective of how much budget you have. Now that sometimes appears ironic, that even those who say that, oh, digital is so important for me, say so because they feel they don't have money to do a proper mainline campaign. The third is at senior talent level or mid-level talent. A lot of creative people who are sitting in mainline agencies, for them, creating 4 TVCs a year and being able to go to Cannes on a paid visit is the reason why they exist. For them, moving into a digital medium and having to actually work hard and produce hundreds of pieces of content is something that they're not willing to do. So I wish this television TV ad being the pinnacle of success for a creative professional, that feeling changes and people are willing to do more interactive work and look beyond television and print. That would allow a lot more talented people to move into digital, and therefore the quality of the work that India produces improves significantly. And we all know that the kind of work that India produces is significantly below par when you compare it with the kind of work that globally is getting produced. So talent of new people, education, as well as people from creative agencies and clients, putting serious money behind digital to do some really good work. I think that's really what could help a lot.
I understand your point when you talk about talent because digital itself is such a fast medium. Me being as a publisher in this industry, I'm always thinking like, okay, one day I'm behind, I'm like out of them, and then I'm seeing students. It's like, okay, they just a year behind what the industry is happening with. Interesting. Some great thoughts from you. What keeps you personally busy apart from digital, other than IBS, and what's
My daughter, she's 3.5 and she keeps me busy all the time. Brought in a lot of perspective to life. You suddenly realize that money is not the be all and end all of life, and which sort of makes you feel when you win an award and you bring in the trophy. She thinks it's a toy, and she's so happy that you've got a few. And she asked me, why did you not win 7? Why did we win only 3? So it just makes you feel very different about the kind of work that you do. When she walks into the office and she roams around and she looks at all the work that we've done, the happiness in her face makes you feel like doing this that much more sincerely, which in a way makes you feel happy that you're doing something good, and you want to do that continuously. And this whole thought of selling out and all of it doesn't really come to your mind because you're just happy doing what you're doing.
touch wood to that father and daughter relationship. And Sabyasachi, it's been interesting talking to you. And we at Lighthouse wish you all the best to you and IBS. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Prashant. It's been a pleasure.